kind of follow-up question. Has to do with the CPI.
Yes.
I'm just wondering, like, who in here thinks the CPI is as low as it is? I mean, this is another huge thing. The CPI has been engineered to show low inflation. There's not low inflation. So, like, I mean, this is a major problem.
Yeah.
Because people's standard of living is going to go lower.
Yeah. Well, see, okay, that's a very good question, and my wife asks me this all the time. Keep saying that inflation is low. I go to the grocery store, I got to spend a lot more money. Yeah, and look at the gas prices. They're going to go up. You know, everything seems to cost more, and you're saying there's no inflation. First of all, it's a composite measure. It's a national measure. You can get local CPI indexes, but one that you mostly read about. So, the prices in the South, in the Midwest, and other places may not be rising compared to on the West Coast, where we may see some inflation. Secondly, quite often they will take food and energy out of the index, which are major expenses. Right, because what they want to look at is the core inflation rate that is built into the system, and especially they are concerned about wage inflation. The worst kind of inflation that economists fear or the policymakers look at are the wages starting to go up. When wages started to go up, they get very concerned. The product prices can jump up and down because wages don't go down. They keep going up if they go up at all. So that's why you see this disconnect between what the official number might be and what you may be experiencing. And it also depends on what you are buying and what kind of products you're buying. The other thing is the quality improvement. No, iPad 2 came out recently, last month, right? Last week. People are going to buy that, which is supposedly a better product than iPad 1. And so you're paying more for things that are better or that are newer. Now, you may think they are expensive, but that's a new product. That really doesn't count in inflation.
I'm just curious, when did they stop including the energy and the food in the...
It's not that they stop including. They create different indices. One that includes housing prices of food and energy. Another one that doesn't.
Okay.
And so they report both of these. But as I said, from the policymaker's point of view, because energy and food prices fluctuate a great deal, so they concentrate on more stable indicators of inflation, more steady, that are going to persist over time. And so I know for you and I, overall inflation, that is important, but for policymakers' point of view, but the media sort of doesn't realize what's going on. They just report whatever is there. Let me give you a chance to somebody else.
There are recent discussions about instituting a bill that will require lead providers to always put a 20% deposit or
Mm-hmm. Down payment.
Yeah, down payment. How, with the low unemployment rate and with all of these different factors that you show us, how is that going to impact the housing market when it's still taking a hit?
Mm-hmm. Sure. It's going to make it more difficult for people to purchase homes. But at the same time, if you have more equity in your house, you're more concerned about maintaining the value of the house and making the payments, and you don't want to let go. See, what happened in this recession, just before the recession hit, a lot of people were buying homes with no equity. No down payment, zero down payment. Not only that, they were falsifying records. Not everybody, but a significant enough number. Were falsifying their records on whether they have a job or not, what their income is, and brokers were all involved, and the lenders were all involved. You know, it became a scam. And people didn't realize that until the bubble burst. And then there's no equity there, nobody there to make the payments. And that's what led to really the collapse of that. So it's to prevent against things like that, that they are requiring higher. I doubt that they will require 20% by law, but I think in terms of practice, they will probably require higher down payment than they have in the past.
U.S. currency has devalued in the last couple of years.
Auto business, okay.
No, not auto, our dollars, U.S. dollars.
Oh, U.S. dollar, okay. Yeah.
It's intentional by government, and it's good for the nation. I know for individuals
Yeah.
it's not good.
Yeah. Exchange value of the dollar is not manipulated by the U.S. government. I mean, they might try to adjust, here and there, but generally it's a free market that decides. The value of the dollar goes up and down depending on what's happening in the U.S. versus what's happening in the rest of the world. U.S. economy has been in a recession. U.S. economy was growing at a very rapid rate, and relative to other countries, and that led to the decline of the dollar. As U.S. economy becomes stronger, especially as the interest rate starts to move up, U.S. dollar will increase relative to other countries. But it is a totally mostly market determined. Did you have anything?
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the questions I had was, unemployment seems to be remaining stubbornly high, but in what industries is unemployment the highest, and where can we see job growth growing the most?
Very good question. That's what I was afraid of. Well, highest unemployment has been in the housing sector, widespread because housing sector lost a lot of jobs. Manufacturing has a persistent problem because jobs have been moving abroad to other countries. In terms of job growth, I think a lot of the job growth is in the newer businesses like green technologies, whether it's water or electricity, utilities. It's in anything related to technology, software, and some hardware degree there. Biotechnology, that has never generated sufficient number of jobs, but the need over time, I think, it'll grow. So it is the industry that are related to energy conservation and education and healthcare are the two sectors that have lost almost no jobs. I mean, they've been ups and downs in education because of government cutbacks. Okay, go ahead.
The federal government talked about cutting $100 billion out of the budget. Would that ever have any consequence on the economy?
The Republican House members, Tea Party especially, want to cut the federal budget by $100 billion this year's budget. This fiscal year for the federal government ends on September 30th. So they have about, 8 months to go. And they want to cut another $100 billion, which is a big, big cut. I mean, I know. We are academia. When we get a cut in the middle of the year, when we have already admitted students for fall or spring, for example, it's terrible to make adjustment because you already made all the commitments. So it's going to cause, if it happens, a lot of hardship for the federal government. I don't know whether, what they're going to do. I think they have come back down to about $50 billion cut, Republican, from $100 billion. Obama has offered them $5 billion. And so we'll find out in the next 2 weeks, actually, because next Friday the deadline expires for government payrolls. So stay tuned. It's a political matter. I have a view on it, but I can't really predict what will happen. This is something I want to end with, a couple of comments. I know people have to leave. We live in a very complicated world. A lot of major fundamental changes are taking place. You're living in exciting times, interesting times, as the phrase goes. And it's interesting in so many different ways. The economy is changing. The world is changing in terms of position of the United States relative to the rest of the world. Politically, look at Egypt and Libya and other places, things, Iraq, in the last 10 years, things that have changed are going to continue to change. Demographics are changing. Yesterday, the census numbers came out, this morning's paper, if you saw it, showed demographic changes in Orange County and the rest of the country. Huge change in the number of the population groups, their sizes that are changing. Your educational, your job opportunity, we just talked about where the jobs are going to be, very different. Your parents' generation, my generation, we had a relatively secure job environment. We had our pensions, and we have spent, I worked for 40 years, for example. But those things are being eroded now by the recession. So going forward, things are a lot more complicated. I mean, people look for easy answers and quick answers, and they'll blame the government. They'll blame Republicans. They'll blame Democrats. They'll blame China. Anything, media looks for quick, guilty parties that they can point their fingers to. But the reality is that the world is a more complicated place, and the only way we can make sense out of it for ourselves and for our country is to pay more close attention to understanding what the changes are, why things are happening the way they're happening. It's nobody's blame in a way, if you think of the big picture. This is just the way the world is. And we need to figure out where it's headed, so we can take advantage of it. We can bend it to our advantage if we can. We have the knowledge, we have the infrastructure, we have the resources. So it's not reason to be afraid about it. But there's no question about, in my mind, that this current phase is one of the most challenging phase. And changes, things that are happening now are going to determine for the next several decades what the shape of the economy is going to be and how we can perform nationally in ourselves. So I want to stop on that note. Thank you. I'll be around if you want to talk about it. Oh, thank you so much. That's very nice. I didn't expect that.